in Khalsa College for Women, Amritsar, while taking the examination of the Indian Police Service. Imagine, after doing the service, while doing the service, I did a law degree. I was very keen to upgrade my skills and I became a law graduate from the Delhi University. After doing my graduation in law and the masters, I did a PhD from IIT Delhi in drug abuse and domestic violence. I did not stop educating myself. After doing my PhD, I applied for the Nehru Scholarship and I got a postdoctoral from Nehru Fellowship to write my book on Tihar Jail. After doing my IIT PhD, I continue to write and continue to write my books from time to time. So I'm basically not trying to self-adulate. I'm just trying to say that I'm in the right field. I'm in the right crowd. I'm in the right environment. I'm in the right place because education is my core value. And I even, if I would go take you even further, one of my NGOs which I set up 21 years ago called the Navjyoti India Foundation educates the poorest children of Delhi slums. It's been educating the poorest of the poor who were rag pickers earlier, who were beggars earlier, and today some of them are teachers because I've been educating them for the last 21 years. So the core of my heart is education. I'll tell you something very exciting just now before, if my prison reforms happened, which I was gloriously introduced about, the beginning of my prison reforms was education. 10,000 prisoners in Tihar Jail, my friends, all went to education inside the prison. Unheard of any prison anywhere in the world. When I went as Inspector General of the Indian prison, can this music be lowered, please? This music, because at the moment, yeah, thank you. Because it's not going with the event right now. When I was in Tihar Jail and I thought that was a very important institution for crime prevention, one of the key things I started with very early on is education. I found that about 30% of the people who came into the prison were illiterates. They were leaving thumb impressions as I noticed. But that wasn't the key because they were leaving thumb impressions. The key was, if I have to reform them, and if I have to get these people out of criminal minds, I have to educate them. So from 9 to 11 every morning in Tihar Jail, it was a classroom of 10,000 prisoners. None of you obviously got an opportunity to see because I did involve publishers in my program, asking them to donate books they would not sell, but they would probably give it away as raddi. I told them, give me those books because some slightly damaged books can't go to the market. So publishers did visit in a very large numbers during that time. But what did I do? 9 to 11, everybody went to school. 10,000 prisoners, everybody went to school. And you might ask me how? Where did the books come from? Where did the teachers come from? Where did the training aids come from? Not from government budget. Not from government budget. Because the prison budget had not a penny for education. Because reform was not the agenda in the prison reforms till that time, anywhere in this country. And we then appealed to schools outside. The schools outside the prison to donate used school books. And I got used school books from the primary level till the 12th standard. Used school books from the month of April onwards start to flow into the Indian prison by thousands of bags. They came as bags. We created godowns inside of class 1, class 2, class 3, class 4. And every prisoner who entered the prison, we knew he was a robber, or he was a thief, or he was a rapist, or he was a terrorist. But alongside we had started to ask him, kitna padhe ho? Kahan padhe ho? Kitna padhe ho? And then we categorized them into classes. And then put them into primary, middle, higher, etc. And all those who were graduates and above, or 12th standard and above, became my teachers inside the prison. I created a whole teachers cadre inside the prison, those who were 12th standard and plus. The 12th standard took the primaries and the graduates took other classes. Then those people who were good in languages, we started language classes. I'm just trying to tell you that this is education at the core. That's why I'm here. I'm very grateful that Times Research invited me, because probably they didn't know how sensitive and how eager I am and how much I love education. Therefore, I have great respect for each one of you who's present and who's going to be recognized in this talent award. May you all deserve one, because you've all done it despite odds, creating institutions of learning. Let me share two brief things before you, because I never knew this was going to be such a great venue for education. I underestimated the audience, but let me give the audience due respect. Two things. One is, I would urge you that while you educate and you recognize and create talent in this country, I've noticed one thing, that while we are growing up in meritocracy, we are falling in the quotient trust quotient, which I would call. Is a more educated person becoming more trustworthy after being higher educated? I think is a question to ask. While we create higher education, as I said, higher skills, higher levels of technical skills, is that person also being developed to be more trustworthy, to be more reputed? I think that's a question mark. If you notice, if you did the Reader's Digest quotient of Reader's Digest survey of March of 2010, they did a trust quotient of professions. And there were not many people who were very highly educated through these professions, particularly the government. After all, the government gets only educated people. Government only gets educated people. And educated people only join the government. But the government was the least trusted organization. After all, government is an entity of educated people. And where are those educated people coming from? Institutions of learning. But institutions of learning sending people to the government, but not trusted at all, including even the judiciary. If you go back to that Reader's Digest poll of March 2010, look at the professions which are trusted least, and look from the bottom, you will not see government anywhere higher, including even the higher corporates. So I think I want to leave just one question in your mind as a part which could enter, which could touch your conscience, is while we are skilling people, giving them a higher level education, are we raising integrity quotient of this country? Are we raising the trust quotient of this country? If no, then something's wrong somewhere very seriously. It's wrong at the student level, it's something wrong at the teacher level. I think that's a question which is of serious concern to me as an Indian. Has been in the past, has been in the future. I'm not a preacher. I believe in giving trust and living by trust. No wonder in that same opinion poll, I've been rated as the third most trusted woman, third most trusted Indian in India, and the most trusted woman in India. Why? It was only because of that. I didn't know anything about it. So friends, one has to grow, educate ourselves towards trust. That's, I thought, as a teacher, as teachers in institutions, leave you to answer this question. I do hope in your next Times Research talent hunt, you would look at the value education which every institution is giving, because I don't know yet your criterion. But if that criterion is also included, besides quality of skills you're giving, is value education, I would probably go for many more marks given to that institution who's grooming people who are trustworthy, who would take up the reputation of education rather than lower it. I was speaking to an engineering institution in Chandigarh the other day, and I was saying that the more educated we are becoming, the more dowry problems are increasing, the more violence is increasing, the more domestic violence is increasing, more dishonesty is increasing. So what's the matter? Where are we going wrong? In fact, that should have shown a decline. On the contrary, everything like that is increasing. Is it a correlation with education? So I'm not trying to paint everybody with one brush, but that's a question. And I think individually, if I would circulate a slip of paper for you saying, is India, as Indians, is it going up in trust quotient or integrity quotient, or is it going down? I think you might probably rate it very poor. I believe so. I hope I'm wrong. Now, leave it as teachers, as institutions. My point two. My point two is since I'm involved in the education of the poor, I am now on the anvil of starting something very revolutionary, something very unheard of through my own foundation, where I'm open for any partnership. And I'm on kiranbedi.com. Those of you whom I could not give a visit card, I'm available through my website, kiranbedi.com. And the idea is to create a Harvard for the poor. It's a Harvard for the poor. To create a Harvard for the poor. And in that, I have a small infrastructure in northwest of Delhi. I can train about 100 graduates who are poor, who cannot go to management schools, who cannot be eligible for these brilliant, expensive, high-quality schools. I would like to pick up these 100 and train them in a concept called Business School for the Poor. It will be called a Business School for the Poor. I've already registered the name, and it will be called Business. I have a capacity in that building, which I have, is to train 100 students who are graduate women or boys, girls or boys, who cannot be admitted in schools, but they would obviously have to pay a bit. Maybe we'll link themselves with banks which are willing to give them a reasonable, very low interest rate so that we can meet our expenses, so that I don't have to go around with a begging bowl to pay the faculty or run my infrastructure. It will be like a small non-profit business model, which pays for itself but trains 100 poor girls or boys from nearby vicinities, and we call it as the Business School for the Poor. I've been talking about it, by the way, for the last 6 months. This has already made news in certain papers, including the Times of India, is Business School for the Poor. Any one of you who has a heart which beats for them. Now, what will it create? After graduation, we will give them a degree in MBA. But we'll have to put the syllabus in such a way that it actually educates them, because many of these graduates may not be able to even speak clean English and do computers. We'll train them in English, and we'll put them into computers, and we'll also give them the MBA skills for 1 year and pass them out. But what will happen? They'll get placements as first level supervisors. Maybe the first level. That means the ones you create go to the middle, go to the upper middle or little upper lower level. But the lower level does not get served at all in our corporates. Where does that come from? So we could provide that level. That means we'll be filling in that vacuum of the corporate world to give them the first level supervisor coming from here. And maybe, as I was speaking to Galgotias, who was sitting next to me, is that maybe if they're not still fit, the corporate house which takes this placement gives them a little induction to induct them to make our society a little more inclusive. So that's a thought I thought I would share. I didn't come prepared for this thinking. I thought I would make a thank you and go away. But since you are absolutely a brilliant audience and you are shaping the destinies of this country through education and through youth and employment generation, which is taking us to a better GDP, I want to thank you. I'm so happy to be here. But if any one of you wishes to be a partner, I have the infrastructure. We can begin with that month from now. We just have to work out our partnership terms, our collaboration terms. But my goal is 100 poor. I would love to have 50 girls and 50 boys to train them equally and make them available for the first supervisory level after graduation. Could be in Hindi or English. And we can get going. The theme line is, it'll be called Harvard for the Poor. And it'll be called Business School for the Poor. I bet you mustn't have heard this concept at all. I've been dreaming it. I've been living it. I'm now on the anvil of moving forward. Times Research could also be an equal partner in this thinking or collaboration. So it's open to you, but I think it will be a beginning of a whole revolution. It need not stick as a concept in Delhi. It can then spread around the country through you all as Business School for the Poor. And I'm willing to continue to be giving ideas, sharing ideas, be a partner, be a collaborator in this concept. My friends, I want to thank you for listening to me. You've inspired me today Education inspires me because I continue to be a learner through my life. I hope to die also as a learner. But before I die, leave behind learning institutions. Thank you very much.